And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're going to be taking a look at Sol. Sol is a game in which the players are going to be splitting up into two teams of explorers who are landing on a treasure island, basically, trying to find some lost idol. And that's pretty much the goal of the game. You're going to have to figure out there's temples all over this island. You have to find the right temple that has this using your special abilities and fighting each other. Who is going to be the first explorer to find the treasure and get off the island? Or whose team will be the first to do that? Whatever. Let's take a look. In this game, players are trying to find this idol. Now, this idol is in one of these temples on the table. Now, there are different temples that you can see that are spread out. The temples are either yellow or green, they are either round or square, and they either have 4 staircases or they have one main staircase. And players are going to be figuring that out by using this board. As the game goes by, players are going to be finding tokens that have clues on them, and when you add a clue to the board, players are going to be adding from their hand or from a face-up card to one of these piles here. At the end of, at a certain point when all these clues have been found, each player is going to be looking at the different cards that are here, and whichever in each of these rows, whatever there's the most of is the characteristic of that temple, and if it's a tie, it's the last one placed. So let's say in the first column there were 2 squares and a circle. Well, we know that the temple is square. And in the second column there's a yellow and then a green, so we know that it's a green square. And in the last column there's only 1 staircase card, so we know it's a green square with 1 staircase, which means this is the temple where the idol is. So players are going to be doing that over the course of a game. Now, the players are split into 2 teams, and each team's going to control a certain number of characters based on the number of players, and each person's going to take a card for that character. It's going to show you some stats. It's going to show you how far that character can move, their combat value, and how many times they can explore on a turn. Now, you'll notice that there's also special ability. These special abilities are in another language. You'll have to look at a translation to figure them out. And then a certain number of items they can carry. You can also play, then the stats could be slightly different possibly, with a side where there is no special ability, where basically everyone just has these different stats on each side. And so there's all sorts of characters. Each character is going to start on a player's ship, which is placed on the board. And on a team's turn, they're going to be using movement points to move around the board. Now you'll notice the board has a 3-dimensional look to it. In fact, you kind of use some stickers and put these tiles together at the beginning of the game. And as players are going to move around the board, it costs them 1 movement to move on the same level, while if they go, or even if they go down a level. But if they go up, it's going to cost more movement points depending on how many levels up they move. And there's little green squares to show you. So from here to here would cost 3 movement points. From here to here, here would cost 2 movement points as indicated on these. So players are going to move around the board. If they find a thing, they can use one of their exploration points to reveal it. Sometimes these can be spent in the future to add to the movement, and sometimes they can be used for combat, and sometimes they're clues, which they'll put on the board, which allows the players to pick a clue card from their hand or pick the face-up one and put it down to help for them to decide. And these are put face down, so each team is going to have a little bit of information about which temple they're going to be running to once all the clues have been revealed. They also have the ability to reveal a flag, which will show you a flag that you will have at the end of the game. You can put these flags on these ports here at the end of the game. Once you find the idol, you need to run to one of those areas where you have a flag and get off. So the more flags you have, the more spots you can run. Now, occasionally, you're going to land on a spot where there's somebody else. So 2 people land in the same spot, then there's a fight going to happen. The attacker, the person who lands there, can spend as many swords as they want to. The defender will then follow suit. Each player will then roll a die that has between 0 and 4 swords on it. They'll add that to their sword value on their character card, plus any swords they've spent, and the higher one wins. The one who loses is going to be flipped over. That means they can't go into any spot where there's somebody who has one of those until the end of their next turn, in which they flip back over. It's not the end of the world. You don't really lose anything by this, except that it stops you from moving into spots where there's active characters. And other characters can just move through you without any problem. But the biggest thing about losing is you give the other team this. Whenever you lose, this passes to the other team. When you have this, if you discover a clue, you get to add a card to your hand. Teams will start with a couple cards in their hand. Otherwise, you have to draw the face-up one and put it here, which you don't normally want to do. You want to pick the one and kind of determine where the temple is. So having this lets you draw extra cards into your hand before you pick those clues. And then, so that's pretty much it. Players are going to be taking actions back and forth between the teams. Once you find the idol, you're going to be running for an exit. If you make it to the exit, your team wins. Now, Sol has the whole team aspect going for it, and that's fun, right? It's fun to work together as a team, and there's some discussion. You go here, you go do this. So I like that it's team versus team. There's not a whole lot of team versus team games, so that's cool. The components for this game are really spectacular. I really like these three-dimensional pieces. I like the wooden tokens with the stickers on them. It just looks good. Everything pops on the board. The orange and blue are easy to differentiate from each other. The art for the characters is very cartoony but cool. It gives us very good, I don't know, it reminds me of the Seven Cities of Gold cartoon I watched as a kid. The El Dorado or things like that. You know, you're going out to find the treasure, and it's exciting and cool and neat. So that part's cool. I also really like the temple aspect. That is a fascinating thing. Okay, figure out where the temple is. Which temple is it? Unfortunately, it doesn't pay off, and it's not the main focus of the game. I mean, it is the main focus of the game, but really what's happening is you're using your movement points, moving around and finding treasures and hoping you find the right stuff, right? It's pretty much luck for a lot of the game. But figuring out which temple's which, I wish that was like the main focus of the game, because it's almost like a logic where not so much that you are deducting where the temple is, but you are kind of making it it's similar to a game called Tobago, which has a similar aspect where the treasure is here, and I've determined it's on this one spot on the island because I've eliminated all the rest. Choosing that. This is similar to that. I'm choosing which temple it is, but as a team, you're doing so. And I like that. Now, this game is not all good. The combat is just dumb. I mean, it really is. It's so random. You could pay 2 swords and then roll a 0, and your opponent rolls a 4, and they win. And then winning combat is useful, but because getting that token is nice, but if you have the token, there's no reason to get into combat, and it's not hard to stay out of combat, because if I have some movement and you have movement, I can keep ahead of you. You might have some movement tokens and catch me, but those are one-time uses. The special abilities are almost necessary for this game. I mean, it's kind of a pain to look them up and see what each one does, but they give you these things like, oh, I have this extra thing in combat, or I can move here. I like that. But even though the temple thing is fantastically cool and the components are neat, the luck kind of brings it down to this is just a very simple, easy-going game. I like it. It's fun. I just think it could have been great. As it is, it's merely good. But it could have been amazing with this, finding the temple and where the spot is. But really, once you find the temple, and that's really cool, and again, that's why I recommend the game, it's just that's kind of like a running for the exit then is just not as exciting as it sounds that it should be. It's not like, now the chase begins. Yeah, the chase begins, but a lot of times you find it, you're like, oh, I'll see you later, the exit's right here. So the bit anticlimactic sometimes at the end. But I still think a lot of people are going to like this. This is the kind of game that I think could be sold at Toys R Us. There's just a lot going on in it. Again, amazing production values. The temple thing is really cool. Even the movement system and moving up and down, that's pretty, that's not unique to this game. A lot of games do that, but it works well. So the whole thing is a nice package, a good package. It just could have been fantastic. Dice Tower Judgment, approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.